All right, so today I want to talk about arrays. And arrays are one of those things in JavaScript that are just critical to know. And while they can be really intimidating at first, at least they were for me, the more I work with them, the more I actually like them because they just feel easy to work with once you get the hang of them. And I've come to really appreciate them. So I made a couple notes here of just really the commonalities of arrays, and it's just some kind of like the basic introduction here. And we're just going to go through these real quick and show a couple examples, and that'll be the intro to arrays. So one thing to note with arrays, and the way that they're, one of the many ways they're different from objects, is they are ordered, meaning that the order does matter when it comes to arrays. And I'm just going to go ahead and write down an array real quick just so we know what we're talking about here. Okay. So, you know what? I need to give a name to this. There we go. Okay, so now we have an array. So basically, the reason it matters that they're ordered is because these values up here, they matter. The order does matter, and we can access these based on what's called an index. And that leads us to item 2 here. They are zero-based, number indexed. Meaning, I can access items in here by basically referring to their number index. And being that they're zero-based, what this is going to give me is... Alright, my typing's bad today. This should actually return 0 because I am accessing the 0 index of this constant. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And as you can see, we got returned this. And it's probably a little bit of a confusing example. I'm going to switch to, because I'm realizing the indexes are the exact same values here. So why don't I do something like this. And now, if we access the first index of the constant array, you can probably guess what we're going to get. We're going to get the string TED. So that covers the first two items about arrays here. Is unlike objects, they're ordered, meaning the order does matter. The order doesn't get shuffled around. The second item is they're zero-based, number indexed, meaning this is not the first item in the array, it is the 0 item in the array. And so even though this array has 3 elements in it, if we wanted to access the last one, it's not the third element we're accessing, it's the second index that we're accessing to get Sally. There we got Sally. The third item is they're non-homogeneous. And what that means is you can have all sorts of goodies packed into an array. I could even have another array here, not to get too confusing. I'm just going to go ahead and throw in an array with 0 in it. And I could have an object in here. Oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't need... And so this is completely acceptable. Probably not super normal behavior, but totally acceptable for arrays as they are non-homogeneous. The fourth item I have here is fairly obvious. They're constructed with square brackets. So I always like to see examples here. So I'm going to name a constant object. Yeah. And you would construct that with curly braces like this. Okay, but with arrays, we construct those, sorry, it's hard to type and speak at the same time, with square brackets. Square brackets, very important to remember. And finally, all have length properties. All arrays have length properties, and all that means is I can access this built-in little feature here to go ahead and count the number of items in an array. So this array right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm expecting to return 4. I'm going to go ahead and run that and make sure that is true. Uh-oh. I did something wrong here. Okay, there we go. It's not a method that I'm calling, so I don't know why I needed the... There we go. So, important thing to know here, and this is a little bit splitting hairs, is length. Even though this kind of looks like a method, it's not a method, because array, even though it's an object, length is not a function assigned to array. It's a property of array. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail there. I realize that might be confusing, but that's the reason why we don't have the trailing parentheses on the end of length. So last thing I'll show is, actually, you know what? That's good enough for this. I don't want to get too complicated. I want to keep it straightforward. And that is the intro to arrays.